So it's driver release season, and we've already gone over the Qi35 Max, the ultra forgiving model. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out after you watch this one, of course. In this video, however, we'll be going over the Core model and the LS model, and also at the end, I'll be telling you which one of the three main heads is my overall winner. Also, I will have the Callaway Elite driver and the Ping 440 driver reviews coming out soon on my channel, so make sure you're hitting subscribe to stay up to date on all of the latest drivers. First, we're gonna go over the looks, and like I said in the Max review, this whole line is one of my favorite looking driver lines of all time. They got rid of the gray line between the face and the crown that they had on the Qi10, and just the matte gray versus the shiny black is such a big upgrade in general. So I'm sure you can decipher this yourself, but in the looks department, all of these drivers pass with flying colors. So as far as technology, these drivers feature 5 main materials that make up the head: chromium, carbon, steel, aluminum, tungsten, and titanium. Now the Core head, instead of the big 34-gram tungsten weight in the back like we saw on the Max head, it's gonna have 2 interchangeable weights in the front and back. This is to customize your trajectory and get the desired launch conditions from your driver. TaylorMade claims that in the weight back position, the dispersion shrinks 13%, and in the weight forward position, you gain 5 yards of distance. And all 3 drivers do still include the through slot speed pocket, the twist face technology, and the 4-degree neck sleeve that we've been accustomed to seeing from TaylorMade drivers for years now. The LS head comes in at $50 more than the other 2 heads, and instead of 2 weight ports, you get 3 to really allow you to customize your spin, launch, and just overall shot shaping. The LS is also a little bit more of a squashed and oval shape than the other 2, which upon first examination, I wasn't, overly fond of, but then I put it on a shaft and I put it behind the ball, and behind the ball at address, it's my favorite looking of the 3, and it's not particularly close. Now, as far as the characteristics of each driver, the LS head, not surprisingly, is gonna have the lowest spin, the lowest forgiveness, and the lowest launch of any of the 3 models, while the Core model is gonna fall somewhere between the LS and the Max model. The one thing that surprised me about the LS head is that it's still 460 cc's, which is the legal limit for drivers. We've become accustomed to seeing LS heads be 445 or even 430 cc's, but not here. So that could mean, a little extra added forgiveness in the LS model, which I'm excited to test. All right, now that we got the boring stuff, the technology out of the way, let's get to the fun part and hit some golf balls. We'll start with the Core model here. We'll hit some shots and we'll kind of go over the stats as we go. And then when I'm done, I'll show you all the stats put together. So while those numbers may look the same as the Max model, if you went ahead and watched that video, the one thing that's noticeably different with that shot is that the height is a little bit lower than we saw on the Max head, which is what we expected, but that's just one thing to think about when you're hitting and comparing the 2 models. So that's one that we obviously didn't hit great, but we hit it low on the face and we hit it a little bit off the toe. But in the Max head, the 10K MOI head, I hit a shot very, very similar to that, and it ended up definitely better than that one. So I can see the difference in forgiveness already after 3 shots. So that would be an example of a really well-struck shot. I'm not shocked that this head is also very, very good when it's hit out of the middle of the face. But again, look at that height, under 100. This is gonna launch a lot lower than the Max model, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on what you want out of your driver. So we obviously got that one out there pretty good. We got it to 340. I mean, we're not chasing distance, but if you watch the Max head model review, we hit shots like that, but the forgiveness level was so much higher, and those shots, instead of going right and missing the fairway right, kind of stayed in the fairway a little bit. So, overall, I'm leaning Max head here. And then it does that. I think the driver heard me there and made me want to eat my words, because those numbers are some of the most impressive that I've seen out of a driver test. So here were the numbers for the Qi35 Core model. As we can see, that spin was slightly lower than the Max head, but the dispersion was a lot worse, as you can see now. The carry and total distance was about the same. We did get a little bit more rollout with the Core model, which we're not shocked about. It's not gonna launch as high, which means it's gonna roll out a little bit more. So overall, because of that dispersion shrinkage and the lack of drop off in ball speed, I still lean the Max model over the Core model. Now we're gonna jump into the LS testing and see how it compares to the other two models. I'm excited for this one, but not at the same time. I'm excited to see the distance potential, but I'm kind of a little worried for the dispersion that we might see. So as we can see from those last two, we've definitely seen an increase in club speed and a decrease in spin rate. That last one spun at 1600, but the dispersion, like I kind of was worried about, is not great. Let's see if we can't middle one and find the middle of the fairway here. So yeah, this is just, you know, definitely not as forgiving. That was a really bad strike, obviously, and it just spun up at 3,700 spin, and it only went, you know, 288 instead of the normal 320, 330 that we've been seeing. I am gonna take this one out of the table that you see at the end, just because it would skew the results, and I don't wanna do that because that would be unfair to the driver. So as we can see with the numbers here, the spin rate on the LS was the only one of the three heads that was under 2,000 average spin. I believe it was also the longest, with 310 carry and 337 total on average. And this really wasn't even my best showing with the driver, average 147 smash. I believe I was 148 or 149 with the other two heads. But as we can see from the dispersion screen, we had three that were really, really good, one that was okay, a little bit off to the right, and then we had three that were not great at all, missing fairways, maybe going OB, especially that one right. So overall, the LS head kind of did exactly what we expected it to do. So my overall thoughts on the Qi35 Core and LS. Starting with the Core model, I think it did exactly what I expected it to do. It wasn't as forgiving as the Max model, but it also wasn't as low spinning as the LS. It was kind of somewhere in that middle ground. I do think it was slightly better than the Qi10 though, just from a performance perspective and definitely from a looks perspective. The performance was pretty consistent across the board. I especially thought I got a little bit more forgiveness in this year's Qi35 than last year's Qi10 in the Core model specifically. Then as far as the LS head, it kind of is what it is with an LS head at this point. It's gonna spin at absolutely nothing, you know, really, really low. It's gonna go forever, but it's gonna be really, really unforgiving, and it's gonna look kind of intimidating when you put it behind the ball. Which that shouldn't deter you from considering it. You know, if you're a good ball striker and a good driver of the golf ball, but struggle with spin, the LS model could absolutely be the right one for you. Overall, however, out of the three main drivers in this lineup from TaylorMade, my winner is the Qi35 Max. Forgiveness is not a bad thing. I think a lot of golfers, when they get recommended a super forgiving or ultra forgiving head, they automatically associate it with, oh, this person is calling me bad. And that's not the case anymore. 10K MOI drivers are here, and they're here to stay. TaylorMade and Ping set the tone with theirs last year. TaylorMade this year has kind of grown on that and really built on it with a much better model, in my opinion, in the Qi35. Cobra's also getting in on the action, and I'm sure other companies will follow suit as the years go on. So yeah, you pair the extra forgiveness with the low enough spin characteristics of the Qi35 Max, and I think you have a winner of a driver overall. There you have it. That's it for the Qi35 testing. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the Callaway Elite and the Ping G440 driver reviews that are going to be coming your way soon. Guys, thanks for sticking around. Make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button down below. It helps me out a ton. And until next time, peace out.